Good morning. Great morning, everyone. This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. We got a lot to talk about today. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're here today, I assume it's for one of two reasons, actually for both of them, that you're here to learn and to contribute. Now, everyone contributes in their own unique way, but what we have developed here is absolutely extraordinary, and I am grateful for it. Looking forward to this session. You all setting it off on the right foot and on the right tune. As far as baby Lindsay, right? Michelle wondering what's going on over there. Jeffrey, welcome all the conquistadors, saying, do we have the new baby yet? Not yet. We're day to day. Wife going back to the doctor this morning. Thank you for all of your thoughts and prayers. There will be an update, of course, later this afternoon once we find out a little bit more. The news of the day. The news of the day over here, President Biden proposing a $6 trillion budget increase. Federal spending going as high as it's ever been since World War II. How is the market reacting? Look over here, you can see the 10-year bid on the news. 10-year bid, right? It looks like it's going to be gapping up here a little bit. You can see holding the support very well. Consolidating here. Is it now getting ready for a new leg up? Is that a bit of a bull flag that you see here? Right? Looks like it to me. What about the equity markets? Futures are unchanged here this morning, right? Now, S&P continuing. Excuse me. Hold on one second. Let's get off the weekly over here. Let me come over to the 3-day. Let's go back and look at the 10-year. Let's go a little bit slower over here, right? That's a little bit off. All right, hold on. Let's go a little bit slow. Let's go with a little bit more precision. Let's make sure that we all have a good understanding, a solid understanding of what's going on over here. It's what we need to do. We need to walk away from this session with a little further clarity than we came in today, right? Put down the mic. Put down the mic. No, Craig, y'all my fam, you know? Listen, by the way, when the baby's born, obviously I'm going to be in the hospital with my wife, and I'll update everyone through the community tab on YouTube, in the Discord, and through the Telegram notifications. If you're not on the Telegram notifications, you want to know when I'm going live, when Heat's going live, make sure in the description below you find that Telegram broadcast channel. Get on it, as well as I'll update anyone if we're out of our normal schedule, if I'm able, of course. Your thoughts and prayers are truly greatly appreciated over here. We have also the S&P 500. The futures are unchanged right now. A stone's throw off all-time highs. Looking pretty good. Technically looking fantastic over here. People keep calling the tops of the markets. By the way, people have been calling the tops of the markets coming down from the bottom over here this whole way up, right? QE is uber asset inflationary. Who got you on the right side the clearest and the earliest? Drowning out all that noise. Nasdaq's under a little bit pressure today. Nasdaq slightly down. That's because you're seeing yields rise over here. Not good for tech. Nevertheless, technically, very bullish. We've looked at this with extreme accuracy, right? And the structure of the market here, very bullish. You can see where my mouse is right now. And if you follow it to the left, this peak right over here, this swing high, you can see the resistance that we're coming into right now. Right? You could see over here that was holding as support, flip to resistance. You could see the important line over here, and then follow it all the way back. You could see over here it was a level 2. You know what? That warrants us putting in a little marker, a little line over here, just so we're watching what's going on. I'm gonna put it as red as resistance. We'll watch what's going on. Thank you for being here, everyone. If you're watching on the replay, absolutely, absolutely, I'm truly grateful for not only the comments and insight you add, but for your support. Replay crew holding it up strong over here. And thank you to each and every one of you for not only for your friendships, for what we share here today, but also for your support. These last couple of weeks, I've learned a lot of lessons these last couple of weeks. One of the most important lessons that I've learned has been that most people involved in the markets, right? And I'm talking right now about cryptocurrency in general. That most people involved in the markets right here, right, have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what's going on. And when people are saying, "Oh, everyone's on the same page. How could this play out if everyone sees it?" Very few see it. Very few understand what's going on. Most people are out there gambling. Most people are taking reckless risks, aggressive risks, over leveraged. By the way, lightly leveraged, experts only, right? If you're trading with leverage and if you find yourself getting liquidated, couple of things. Do you know how to manage your leverage? Do you know how to, not only your leverage, your liquidation level, the risk per trade? Are you an expert? Or did you think that you could just jump in and all of a sudden, it's all going to be good? I've learned a lot of lessons, really mostly about the emotional makeup of the participants in this market, and they are extraordinarily immature. Extraordinarily immature. If you're listening to this and this resonates with you at all, that's really good. That's the first step for actually you getting right on track of where you need to be. You need to make a lot of adjustments. You know what? And the best and the greatest and the most important adjustment you can make is stop talking, stop trading, and start opening up and listening and looking to learn. That's where you are, and that's where you need to be. Very important stuff over there. Nasdaq over here, once we get above this resistance, right? Obviously looking even more good. More good. That's my Spanish. Más bueno, Anyway, here we are over here. Do we have a sharp trend line to worry about? No, I don't see that there. That's forcing everything. What I'm seeing over here, though, and I'm wondering if this is developing or not, is this some type of ascending? Oh, sorry. Let me get this. Let me use trend lines over here. Is this some type of ascending wedge that's developing over here? Let me watch out for it. Let me see if I don't think so, but I'm curious. And if you're not curious, is that an ascending wedge that just broke down off the resistance? I don't know, but I don't know, but I'm watching for it. How about that? What's more important here, though, is this light resistance, this light horizontal resistance. Price right now consolidating under it. Notice and watch how the Nasdaq acts today as yields are rising. What a bullish signal if the Nasdaq is actually able to close higher today with rising yields. That would be signal. That's saying that at this point, that the printing, that the debt, actually not the printing, that the debt, well, the debt comes from the printing, is getting absolutely out of hand. Out of hand. So we'll watch. The DXY over here and jump down to the 3 days so you get that perspective over there. We continue riding down this trend line over here, finding a little bit of a bounce off of the support, but have not yet made it back above that trend line. It was actually tested over here overnight. You can see that we came into our trend line, have been rejected so far. What's the dollar going to do today with the rising yields and the pressure of the ever rising debt? That's something that we want to continue to watch. Really, though, as I look at the markets, as I look at what's going on over here, I see the market's mixed. S&P up, Nasdaq slightly down, dollar unchanged, gold and silver. That's interesting too. Notice what I'm bringing before you by making these observations. Gold and silver so far this session unchanged with rising yields. Well, that's interesting, don't you think? I do. That's important to watch here how they act. Is the market starting to price in the magnitude of the debt? That's the question. Now, the next couple of hours should be quite volatile. As we look at the markets right now, and we see that right now the equities are unchanged, the DXY is exactly unchanged, and gold and silver are basically also unchanged right here. Let's see how they're looking about an hour from now. Let's see how after the market opens, equity market's opening up in about 15 minutes after the first half hour of trading. And also watch that last half hour into the London close. That's when you see a lot of volatility on the precious metals. We'll check in and we'll see what's going on, how the market price is in. The big news today, big news is that they plan on spending, well, when I say spending a lot more debt. I saw this morning Anthony Papalano noting that since 2011, the revenue generated from taxes hasn't changed. It's only the government spending that has changed. We don't have a tax problem. We have a spending problem. Let's see how the markets continue to price that all in over here. Let's move over to Bitcoin for a second. Over here, you can see Bitcoin trading right now at $39,640. Looking on the 3-day, I'm going to start it off on the weekly. So far, putting in a nice week here, up about 45% off the low. Now, that's meaningless right now because for Bitcoin, a 45% move off this type of price action is not really anything special at all, right? Let's continue to watch. Let's continue to monitor. Let's continue to take that approach of something just occurred that warrants us to step back, have that little bit of a lower time preference, and give and continue to give the dust a little time to settle, which has been, by the way, since last Friday, right? That has been exactly what I put out there to everyone. Now, a lot of people did not heed that warning. A lot of people are unable to take responsibility for themselves and their own actions. That includes if you think that you know what we're talking about in here, how detailed we go over everything each and every day. Jordan, what does neutral mean to you? What do you mean? Every day for a week, we've discussed it and clarified it, right? People have to learn how to take responsibility for themselves. I understand it's difficult. I understand, but you gotta learn. Otherwise you have no future here in the markets, that's for sure. On the 3-day, what are we looking at over here? Well, this could be quite worrisome if you look at the 3-day. Why do I say that? Why does Jordan say that? Do you remember coming into this pattern over here on the daily when we had this big down move? And then I saw these two bars over here, these two light bars. And that generally is a very worrisome pattern when you continue out of there, right? You could see that playing out possibly. Now, I don't think it is. Just bringing it to your attention, so to watch out for. You can see that possibly now playing out on the 3-day, right? So coming out, making a lower low over there. Yeah, that would be pretty sketchy. I would be pretty concerned. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying right now warrants a lot of, let's just say, cautiousness. It's good to be cautious, optimistically cautious, of course, as I believe that the mid-cycle low has been put in. We'll take a look at that. Actually, the title of this video is quite interesting. We're going to get into that in just a little bit, right? What has been after the price made the new all-time high in each cycle, the low. We'll take a look at that together. What's going on over here? I'm looking at the daily time frame right now. Not too much. Not much of a read over there. 8-hour? Nope, not too much. 2 days giving me the most read. If I come over here to this chart, you can see that we remain within this channel. I drew this channel in, by the way, you saw that trend line in yesterday's session. All I did was clone it, put it down here as price started falling. I wanted to know where was the support to watch out for. It wound up holding. No big deal. This is the 2-hour. I don't think anyone should be really focused in on the 2-hour at this point. Lower your time preference. Look at higher time frame charts. All right. Let's take a look at what's going on now that we have a little bit of our awareness. I want to check back in on the rest of the markets we looked at this morning a little bit later. Okay, a little bit later. Yesterday, Pure Vita, outstanding. Coming off of the previous training session, which was absolutely outstanding. We're going to look at that in 1 second as well. Let's start over here. This is Ian's work over here. Ian's a beautiful analyst, chartist, and mind. Part of that hive mind over here we got going. And I want to walk you through it a little bit, what we're looking at over here. You could see that we're looking in light blue over here, the 2012 to 2016 4-year cycle. Then you're looking over here in blue, you're looking at the 2016 to the 2020 4-year cycle. And then in red, you're currently looking at the current 2020 to 2024 4-year cycle. They're lined up right now off the mid-cycle dip. That's how they're lined up right now. You could see one of these is using price line. The bands, I'm not really sure. I can't talk about it. One is using price lined up from the new all-time high. The other is using it lined up from the scale dip over here. And it's just to give us a little bit of a variation as we go forward. Okay? Where we are right now today, right, seems to be completely right on schedule. No question about it. Right on schedule, which is why not one of us is questioning on whether or not we're in a bull market or not. Every single on-chain, Al, thank you so much for all of your extraordinary work. Every single on-chain analytic pointing to the fact that we are not only in a bull market, but mid-cycle. When we look at price and line it up to our past roadmaps, we see that everything is pointing us to us being completely mid-cycle. Right? Yeah. Listen. Bye. Thank you for that. All right. Sorry about that distraction over there. Let me go ahead and move up over here and get going. Sorry about that. Let me come back in and find the flow. It's a gentle flow today. It's like easy listening, right? Down tempo, slow flow, easy flow. There's a lot to be shared here today. There's a lot to be shared. I have about, I would say 20 tabs open over here. We're going to get into it now. What's next, right? Are we there yet? No. I just want to point out for those that missed it, and if you missed yesterday's training session where Ted and Ian present what's going on here, let's call it the CTM hive mind cycle over here. The most precision there is across the whole crypto space when it comes to the 4-year cycle, right? It's like basically working off of Plan B stock to flow, and all the work that Charts BTC puts out there, showing us the 4-year cycle, and just putting it together with that CTM flare over here. You can see it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. You can see over here these peaks matching over here. This is the current cycle, the 2012. You could see how, and then the valley. You could see them lining up, and then these two peaks lining up again, and these two valleys lining up again, and then these two peaks lining up, and then that slight little valley, and then these two peaks lining up, and then the bigger dip lining up, and then the little bounce, and then 35 days. Ian points out into that the mid-cycle shakeout. They line up almost exactly and come in. You cannot deny the symmetry. Now, of course, we're not expecting everything to play out exactly to the day, but you have to look at the past, and there's no denying how closely it rhymes. Look at this over here, this peak over here, matching with this peak, right? And then the valley matching with the previous as well. And this continues matching up exactly until you get right here to about 35 days. And then all of a sudden, for the last 35 days, they kind of all fall in line perfectly in sync, even on the way out, which is why we continue to look for that way out like that. Absolutely beautiful over here. Here's Ian pointing out with precision the 35 days from over there where they all line up into that low, and so far they have all bottomed out together, right? So far they've all bottomed out together. We have another event lining up, the 35 days from when we hit our liftoff phase. Everyone who's watched the training session and training sessions understands what that used to be, the rocket ship. Now we're changing it to the liftoff phase, how it is approximately 35 days to the cycle peak over there. This is going to be very important for us on our exit. Very important as we watch and continue. And this is where our focus is, everyone. This is where our focus is and continues to be, right? This is option A. Why we're aware of option B, and we'll look at that in a moment. Someone on Twitter tagging CTM put out some beautiful chart work. We could consult over there, right? Option A remains the plan. This is what we're looking for. The next two events, wave 1 and wave 2, into liftoff and the parabolic vertical blow off top. All right, and here you go this morning, Ian. If you're not following Ian on Twitter, go ahead to my profile on Twitter. Look, there's a link in the description below. I retweeted his tweet this morning so you could find him. Make sure you're following him. He puts out these beautiful charts, right? Focused on the bull of all bulls over here, the mid-cycle shakeout, appropriate name. This work over here is so important. I think it's the most important work going on in the whole space, which is why I'm here focused on it with you each and every day. This is Brad's chart over here. Brad giving us an update over here. Very important stuff. If you have not watched the previous training session, absolutely extraordinary. Brad sending out the fire, putting out what's going to be, as we get towards the later half of the second half of the bull market phase, so important for us to consult, making sure that we're aware of when we're going into liftoff and when we're hitting that exit over there. His work here, absolutely extraordinary. Tightening it up over here. You could see, by the way, you could see the angle of this trend line from the March low over here. And then as we leveled out over here in October, right? Also lining up over here. Is this the correct angle? It certainly looks like it. Is this the low that was put in over here, somewhere around $30,000? That's interesting. We will take a look at that in a moment together. Okay? And this is also, Brad shared this with me last night. He shared me that I don't know who to attribute the work to. It came off Twitter. If obviously I'm always showing who the source is, want to give credit to everyone who contributes to Bitcoin overall, because that's what Bitcoiners do, working together over here. And when I say Bitcoiners, we're talking about the crypto space. Bitcoin remains the rising tide that lifts all boats. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But if you're here watching, if you're enjoying the time together, go ahead and smash the like button. Let's get going over here today. About to present something that I saw last night. It's pretty important over here. Well, it's something that everyone should be aware of. Let's put it that way. You're looking at the yellow circle over here, the previous cycle all-time high. So in this case, we're looking at somewhere around 19,400. Okay, then you go back the other cycle, somewhere around $11,040, call it, whatever the case might be. Previous cycle, new all-time high. You could see that once price makes the all-time high, right? By the way, this moment right here, this pullback, right? You could see that the low was 55% above the last all-time high. Okay, this pullback right here happens to be the mid-cycle shakeout. When I say mid-cycle shakeout, everyone understands what I'm talking about at this point. That over there is this orange line, right? And this pullback right here, you see it? When it pulled back, the low was 55% higher than the previous all-time high. I mean, is it a coincidence? It could be a coincidence for sure. There's no question about that. But you have to observe and you have to look at it and you have to see what's going on. You could see that is playing out so far right now. Mid-cycle shakeout, exactly how many days? This is 1 day off or the same amount of days since the prior halving. Mid-cycle shakeout happening again. And then all of a sudden, by the way, not only that, you're looking at over here, at price at this point, at this peak before the mid-cycle shakeout was 3x off the all-time high, right? Price over here, 3x off the previous all-time high. I mean, another coincidence, but playing out with that programmable money again and again and again. Is that the low over there? So the first thing I saw that when that came to mind, what happened in the other cycle? What went on in 2012 to 2016? So that's what, forgive this presentation over here, but it'll get the point across. In the 2009 to 2012, the all-time high was over here at $32. Here's the halving over here, right? I'm checking, what was 55% above that, right? Happens to be $50, right? So I want to know, the next thing that I want to know is, well, what was the mid-cycle shakeout for that? This line in green over here. Did that peak down at $50, right? This is just what I'm thinking. I don't know what's going on. I'm just playing. I like having coffee and I like playing with charts. I like talking with friends and figuring it out together. I like hanging out with all of you. It's what I like to do, And then over here, we see that, listen, this is the mid-cycle shakeout right here. The mid-cycle shakeout. Price over here is somewhere around $65. When I looked at what happened over here, though, at the blow-off top, and then when price came down abruptly, where it came down to was exactly $50. You could see over here the crosshair at $50, which was 55% off the low. So it's interesting that after price has made the new all-time high, has had a 3x at least off the new all-time high, price has never traded lower than 55% off the new all-time high. Now, is that something like a hard and fast rule of the Bitcoin bull market cycle? No. Is that something worthy of making an observation and knowing that we continue to be right on time? Well, I think so. I think it's pretty cool, right? This is Preston, by the way, right? When we looked at this chart that he put out lining up the cycles over there, this is when we added, you got to see what CTM is doing over here, because this is probably one of the most important pieces of work being put out in the space. We're all here sharing it together, right? Preston goes on to say, by the way, someone asks him, look, do you think we've entered a bear market? It's beautiful for me to see over the last 2 weeks how everyone, all the participants of the space are everywhere. It really leads me to believe that when we look at and with the clarity that we see things, with the confidence that we continue to hold, as I held, by the way, when price was trading down at $3,200 and people are talking about some hyper BS and price going down to $1,000 or $1,500, right? Understanding the 4-year cycle, how it's played out in the past, using that as my model to go forward. Having the confidence and conviction I needed to say when price was trading at $4,000 and the fear index off the roof that we're going to be trading above $8,400 within 90 days, right? The confidence that I had putting half my net worth into Bitcoin going into the next halving over here, telling everyone and presenting how I believed it would play out, and here we are today. Now people wonder where that conviction comes from. Well, it comes from, right, a history of repeated behavior playing out and being positioned correctly. Going forward where we are right now, I like where we are better now than we were 2 weeks ago when everyone felt like they saw what was going on. I see how weak everyone is, and I like that. I like how weak everyone is, right? Now I want everyone here, everyone who's CTM to the core, to be as strong as possible. I want them to have the data and the mind coming from whether it's on-chain analytics, whether it's coming from ultimately price and price alone, from past models, from the models we're using going forward. But I want everyone also to have that emotional intelligence needed. Trading is largely psychological. And that's where most people make the most mistakes. I want everyone here to be strong. Preston pointed out, no, we're not even close to a bear market. We got another 5 to 10x from here, in my opinion. Pretty strong feelings about that. It's not just Preston. It's every single Bitcoiner in the space. And when I say Bitcoiner, those who have been here for a while and those who have a history of being correct. And no one has played it out quicker or earlier than Bitcoiners. There's no one in the space that is worried. There's no one in the space saying that we entered a bear market or doesn't have the conviction and understanding that we're in a bull market. The only people that are confused are the people that are whoever you are, right? But your lack of understanding could be poison to others. Just be aware of that. Just because you're confused, doesn't mean everyone else is. And I'm going to continue to remain strong in my convictions because my convictions have got me to where I am today. This is the map Ted put out here. This is absolutely beautiful artistry over here. Ted's indicator over here is just absolutely extraordinary. You saw and all got to know Ted and Ian yesterday in a very, 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 I want to call it intimate. It wasn't intimate, but you got to know them. And they are absolutely exceptional. What an honor to be working alongside them over here. Let's keep going over here. We're looking at that next marker over here. Do we expect, well, we did it in the video yesterday. It was done so well. If you haven't watched the training session from yesterday and the one before that, that's what you should be doing. It's the most valuable content that I know that's out there. Go ahead and watch those over there and catch up to us. All right. When we looked at this over here, this is what set it off. We were looking at these models over here, these 4-year cycles from the legendary halving tracker, Bitstein himself, Michael Benstein, right? And, they never lined up. I was lining them up in my mind or trying to line them up in my mind with that exact clarity that we have today, right? And trying to figure out as we go forward, what happened over here? right? I put out a tweet yesterday, the Charts BTC, the giant, who has been so instrumental in the work that I do here on CTM. Do you know why the blocks were confirmed quicker during the 2012-2016? We lined this up to how many days after the halving, right? But the 4-year cycle is not by days, it's by blocks, right? So I'm saying to him, listen, do you know why those blocks were confirmed quicker during that period compared to the 2009 to 2012 cycle or the 2016 to 2020 cycle, which matched up by approximately 85 days. Now, Ian went out and worked that out exactly, or Ted, how many days it was. I said to him, A6 came online. Perhaps the difficulty adjustment took time. Look, that's the only thing I could think of. Do you know what it is? There are 210,000 blocks per halving. We are lining up by price using days, not blocks. If we're lining this up by blocks, are we getting that clarity we're looking for? No response yet. Doesn't matter. Why? You got Ian showing, visually. It's so helpful for me to see this all visually, always. I'm a visual learner type of guy. He notices that if you increase the length of the 2012 over here in purple, from its halving mid-cycle shakeout, the rest of the 4-year cycles closely match up over here, right? And then Ted going out, he says, listen, I found the document. He's saying that the document says that the A6 are indeed the reason for the compressed cycle, right? And then he went on to explain to both me and Ian exactly why and what was going on. Ian pointing out, listen, I'm wondering out loud, right? If going forward, and he mentioned this in the training session, he's mentioned this to me and Ted repeatedly over the last couple of weeks, right? If we should align the 2012 cycle from the top of the cycle going backwards rather from the halving going forward, right? So, and absolutely, look, this helps us understand why lining up for mid-cycle dip also helps us, the last portion of the cycle, match more closely. Just really affirming and confirming why lining these up from the mid-cycle dip prior to that over here from the when price made the new all-time high gives us that accuracy that we need, as opposed to lining it up from the halving. Because in the 2012-2016 cycle, it was different. The reason it was different is because those blocks were confirmed faster as those ASICs came online, and it took a while for the difficulty adjustment to catch up. Those blocks were confirmed a lot quicker, speeding up the process. And I think that's important to understand the difference as you look at these cycles. I mean, it's essential to understand the difference you're seeing over here. Well, why? Because a lot of people talk about also what? Lengthening cycles, right? Lengthening cycle. Well, it's 210,000 blocks. What are you talking about? Lengthening cycles in days? I mean, I think that's a clarity that would help a lot of people in their assessments of what's going on. I don't even want to speak about lengthening cycles right now because we have a special guest set for tomorrow. That's going to be a recording done, obviously shared with all of you thereafter, maybe even released on the weekend. This is assuming I'm not at the hospital. A special guest who's going to absolutely bring the clarity with that laser-like focus. You all are going to love it. I'll just leave it at that. And it's going to absolutely blow Ted's mind the most. That it's just going to, when you have a present you want to share with someone, right? And you just what it's going to mean to them, right? That's how I feel right now. And that's beautiful. Could someone hit the like button? We need one more like. We're stuck right here on a number that I want to be on. Could someone smash the like button? I would appreciate that very much. Just a little favor. Would be grateful over here. Thank you very much. All right. Thank each and every one of you. By the way, how far have we been online? So we're online about 30 minutes over here with the music, 35 minutes, 672 likes. I mean, listen, this morning I'm in bed, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I don't really have anything to talk about. Well, I have a commitment to these people. These people are my friends. All right, we're gonna make sure I'm there. All right, maybe I don't have anything to say. That's fine too. But man, the quality of the content here is just absolutely beautiful. It's so important. That's all I have to say. I'm gonna say it. Over here we continue to look at option B. Ted he put out a percentage of what he believes it'll be. It was actually a little bit. I think he said 3 to 5%, 5 to 7%, something like that. Either which way, it is option B. I see everyone so confused looking at this. They're calling out, well, we're having another distribution take place on the 1 hour, and now we're having it take place on the 1 hour. Looking back, when I called out, well, oh, this was not Wycliffe distribution, right? And I'm gonna be proven correct if we spring out of it. We looked and consulted the experts yesterday who said, no, it's not a distribution event. If you have that quick recovery, it's a shakeout. Oh, a shake. They use the word shakeout. They're not familiar with our mid-cycle shakeout, right? But nevertheless, we'll see what happens over there. But I have to be aware of it in case that's what happens. The possibility exists that this could play out and we could enter some type of prolonged accumulation phase. Option B, and if it's occurring, I want to be all over it. Some beautiful work shared over here. John K continues to tweet out beautiful stuff over here, adding and complementing the work shared in here, and I'm grateful for it. I really am. That's why I try to retweet, like, and comment on what he's sharing over there, right? And then he's pointing out that this is really a nice roadmap, right? And it's too soon to say that this option cannot happen. We have not yet recovered. Now, of course, going forward, moving forward, where's Ted's work over here? Reclaiming over here, reclaiming. By the way, this is only for Ted and Ian's ears and anyone who watched the training session yesterday. But when I talked about, how late in this current bull market, actually it could be till we make the new all-time high. And then Ian pointed out with that clarity of what we are expecting and why, right? But the special guest that we're having on tomorrow that you're all going to love, he actually pointed out the same thing I pointed out. So just listen, the odds of that happen, let's put it, extremely small. But at the same time, it's true, it could be sometime into September. And that would not let's say, de-validify what we're doing over here. Side note over there, very important. All right, and you'll see why after we record tomorrow's special session of why exactly that is. I don't want to share it beforehand though. But what we are looking at, and what Ian rightfully is saying, as we look at, the 35-day move coming into the low over here, that we do expect that, I believe it's sometime July that we should come back and have made that new all-time high, judging from these past cycles and how long it took them to do it. Yeah, right over into the middle of July. That's when we would expect that would happen. So that remains our base case. Where was I? And let me fall back over here. There's something I wanted to share. Over here. So we haven't yet recovered high enough to say, well, that option B is not in play. Option B is very much in play. The odds of it playing out are very low, in my opinion, right? But at the same time, it exists, and we're watching out for it. This little view over here, by the way, it's such a good roadmap that I'm going to have to, I wish we had a higher resolution photo of it, but I'm going to have to keep consulting it over here. And notice that the possibility that we go sideways over here into September, right? Just when I noted that the model would still be valid if we went sideways, not making a new all-time high into September. So we have to watch this very closely to see if this would be very different for the 4-year model and the 4-year cycle that we follow. Nevertheless, if we start playing this out, and I've said it from the beginning, it would mean not only the bounce first, but price taking out that $30,000 low. That would be the indication that we're leaning here towards option B and then following it forward. We'll continue to watch it over there. I just want everyone to understand where we're at, always looking at our risk adverse side. This would be the risk adverse, the risk adverse option. It has nothing to do with the bull market being open. It has nothing to do with us not being mid-cycle. We would be peaking at the same time, and we would be peaking significantly different, right? Price-wise. I try not to talk about often what type of price targets we're looking at. Now, there is a video I put out that gave, and the zone remains the same. You saw it yesterday in the training session, the precision that Ian and Ted are able to offer that window that we're looking at over here. Brad also following the model over here, many of you are familiar with. If we go back in here, we have the first in yellow over here, what we were looking at last, or yes, September 28th. I was looking at the 21st. That's been pushed back now over here. Base case remains somewhere over here in October. But the numbers, and you all know why if you saw the previous training session, you all know why looking at the past cycles that this channel and these price targets are so effective. We're still looking exactly the numbers Preston gave out, by the way. but some pretty significant numbers to the upside. We don't need to talk about that right now. We don't need to talk about that window that we're looking in over here, right? It's significant, but it would be significantly lower, right? If we saw this type of thing happen. I think at that point we're looking more towards that $160,000 price target, right? And at that point we wouldn't see lengthening cycles, but we would definitely be seeing diminishing returns. No question about it. We're watching for it, and we will see. People wondering about this beautiful indicator TED stare. It's on the Discord. Go into the resource sections. It's a private script, right? Today's training session was absolutely one of my favorites. That's how this live stream started off. Someone noting that as well, right? Ted sharing the script with everyone inside TTM. It's a private script. Just go over into the resource sections. It's pinned over there, and you'll be able to find it. All right. It's time for some head snack. Is it time for some head snack? I don't know. Maybe it's too soon. Maybe it's too soon over here. Let me jump down over to you. I think I missed a super chat over here, possibly. My apologies. I'm just focused over here on these charts. I'm just focused. Nothing shaking on Shakedown Street. Grateful Dead, in other words. Hodl. All right. Nah, not sure what you're saying over there, but I feel you, brother. I feel you. All right. I'm going to drop it. Drop in some. This is, by the way, this song is what got Alan Au, a little bit more involved into CTM. So and I'm getting together with Alan over the weekend to record and present his on-chain analytics. So out of in honor of Alan, I'm gonna go ahead and drop some beats here, or not. Oh, there we go.
Markets, analyzing the charts, hitting projected targets within the margin. Find the flow, sip the matcha, and wait for the waves to come in with lobsters. The kind-hearted Jordan Fosters, working smarter, not harder to move the markers. On his way to conquer, trading and investing, drinking the coffee while reflecting on the blessing. The markets are not crashing, the prices might be slashing just to pretend they're in fashion. Hit the like button, comments, and smash it. Boom, boom, Jordan in the room, grab the bull by the horns and to the moon. Throw from the plateau, make the play. Boom, boom, it's a taco day. It's a taco day. It's a taco day.
Wow, that's the first time in a long time we went through the whole track. That's amazing, because I was reading all of these beautiful, beautiful comments, insightful comments that you guys were adding. So that was important over there. Thanks. We got a weird flow over here, huh? It's a little bit laid back, relaxed. I don't know. All of a sudden I bring down the tempo of the flow and the likes don't fly as much. I felt like it's more on fire than normal, just in a different way. It's like a simmering fire. The coals are burning red hot. It's really hot. It just seems to be more relaxed, All right, a couple of things I want to talk about. No, it's just not my forte, right? It's not my forte. The only reason that Bitcoin is my forte is because the amount of time I put into it. Well, the reason I put the amount of time I put into it, because if you understand money, if you understand the monetary system, and you understand financial markets, you understand the importance of Bitcoin. So that's why it has all my attention. That's why it has all my focus. And there's no way I could do what I do if I was focused on other things, right? So you have Heath putting out extraordinary work. You have Brandon putting out extraordinary work. If you want to dial in to something like MicroStrategy or whatever it might be, that's what we got going on over there. That's for sure. Thank you so much. All right, a couple of questions that I want to talk about. I've highlighted during that little head snack. Let's go over to them and take a look at them. Okay. We can start here with Jay. It's such flawed logic to overlay old charts. right? Because Bitcoin, but Jay's like the halving's priced in. You're irresponsible putting half your net worth into Bitcoin at $9,000, thinking that, the halving is going to cause some type of supply shock, which would set off a bull market in Bitcoin. That's such flawed logic. Oh yeah? What's your logic, Jay? What's your logic, brother? Yeah, you're telling me my logic is flawed and you don't want me to come back at you? Yours is nonsensical. So whatever, whatever for that. So what else we got? The golden ratio. This is very important over here. This is covered extensively in yesterday's training session with that hive mind, looking at it and what it means going forward and how most likely it's going to break this cycle, right? Now, there's a window. I don't know when we peak. And ultimately, we were very clear that at the end of the day, whatever model we're consulting is going to be price and price alone that leads for us to determine when that cycle peak is. No question about that. But from what our base case is, when I say our, I mean CTM Hive Mind, what our base case is that we're peaking now mid-October, right? Ian and Ted both have the exact date. It's probably right over here. Hold on one second. Well, it's not. Here it is, right? Do we have it over here? I think it's I guess it's the 19th of October. It's not important right now. As we get close, we'll make sure we're there. But that would break the golden ratio. So all I could say is that we're very aware, right? Spending actually like a lot of time consulting it and what it means. Ted bringing in, the gold and a Bitcoin cross, consulting it is it could break this time. It could break this time. This actually is a good segue into the next section over here. Jordan, do you hold Ethereum? And if so, what is your exit strategy? Well, this is actually changing. If you looked at by the way, going back well a year before the halving, I was letting everyone know, listen, alt season is going to happen. People like Max, you all know I like Max. I'm a big fan of his knowledge of the markets, which is extraordinary, right? Max is like, yeah, Bitcoin's going to eat everything. And then I'm like, no. There's going to be an alt season. There's no question about it. And not only is there going to be an alt season, it's going to happen about 6 months from my research about after the halving. I mean, almost to the day. That's what we see happen. And not only that, before the halving, I'm like, listen, Ethereum's going to outperform Bitcoin. Ethereum's going to outperform Bitcoin. And not only that, like, I cheer for that and I want that. And I like when I'm seeing that because that's healthy. That means that we are seeing, the bull of all bulls running. We're seeing Bitcoin, the rising tide that lifts all boats, lifting the boats, and it's lifting the speedboat, Ethereum, to go on and do its thing. That's awesome. Will there ever come a point in time where the 4-year cycle disconnects, and Ethereum goes off continuing to run, even if a Bitcoin goes into a bear market? Doubtful. Probably at the point in time where Bitcoin reaches the adoption, where all of a sudden we do see super cycle, hyper Bitcoinization, Ethereum is also it just going on, right? Anyway, there's a tweet I put out there, very important tweet over here. This is, by the way, Sam, do I look at memes? If I tag you on Twitter, I love memes. I absolutely love them. Sam, and I went through all my notifications looking for your work. I didn't see any. Sam, look, if you're a meme artist, tag CTM, tag me on it. I absolutely love them. I love them. So important. I'm looking for a tweet I shared over here, and it's this one over here. Again, this is Ian's outstanding chartist and analysis. The work that was shared yesterday from Ian, definitely regarding what's going on with Ethereum and Bitcoin, was absolutely spectacular. Now, soon enough, I'm not going to put a time on it, but soon enough, the legendary Alan P has said that he would love to come on CTM and talk about his bullish case for Ethereum. And as you all know and have been following his work going on in Discord on the Ethereum channel for the longest time, Alan is a wealth of knowledge. And I can't wait for that. I welcome that. And you all know that truly I root for the success of Ethereum. Now I happen to think that it is still speculative technology, right? I was not prepared with the responsibility I have as a husband and father to put half of our net worth into Ethereum at that particular time. There's no way. There's no way, right? Now, the amount of network effects taking place on Ethereum are truly astonishing. The amount of talent, the hive mind working on Ethereum, are they going to figure it out? Well, by the way, P.S. Carl Icahn yesterday, the billionaire who's like, we're getting into the crypto space. He was talking about actually putting his money into Ethereum. I do believe very sincerely, especially after the next upgrade and as they continue to move forward, 4 years from now, you will see institutional money into Ethereum. That's where we're headed from today. That's what it looks like. Okay, that in my opinion, we'll see. Or is it already started? I don't know about institutional. There we are, Sam. Big shout out. Please share the memes. So what I'm looking at over here is my base case right now today. As we're getting ready for this next 50 days approximately into the peak of the Bitcoin bull market, is that Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to peak at the same time. Now we all know, and going forward, before I spoke about alt season happening, I said, listen, the exit for Ethereum and altcoins is going to come after Bitcoin, as in the previous cycle, showing why. Whether or not that happens right now in this cycle, in the training session, we showed you with precision what needs to happen on this particular wave over here, on this particular wave right over here, to get that type of clarity if they're going to peak at the same time or if Ethereum is going to peak after. And it's impossible to say right now. Now, intuitively, I lean towards them peaking together right now. And as you can see over here in the blue is Ethereum, right? And in the orange, Bitcoin. This particular cycle, they are tracking each other perfectly with Ethereum outperforming. They are tracking each other perfectly every time Bitcoin peaks, Ethereum peaks. Every time, Ethereum starts running out a little bit sooner. That right here you can see Ethereum running out sooner. Well, they bottomed here together. They bottomed here together. They bottomed here together, and they peaked here together. They peaked here together. Right? They peak here together, Ethereum outperforming. They peak here together. I think that if this continues, that they're going to peak the same time this time. Now, a lot of traders are going to get burnt. A lot of traders are going to be exiting Bitcoin at what they perceive the top into Ethereum and or altcoins, and they're going to get burnt if that happens. We will see. And by the way, Ethereum also falls a lot harder and faster when Bitcoin goes down, as do alts. You all saw that during this mid-cycle dip, right? Now, the possibility is that two things. There's a possibility that Ethereum, and we'll know, again, by what happens in this particular phase over here, that Ethereum actually peaks after Bitcoin, right? And there's also the possibility that Ethereum and Bitcoin peak together, and then you have certain alts which peak shortly thereafter. As we get closer, we'll figure it out and we'll work it out together. But my base case right now is that as long as they continue to track each other with Ethereum outperforming, that they're going to peak together. All right. And now the importance is knowing if there is an actionable tradable event for alts peaking after Bitcoin this cycle. That's why I'm focused in on it. That's what I'm not distracting my focus from Bitcoin, and I'm focused on it from afar. But with that precision, you don't see anywhere else out there. That's for sure. Ian's work, absolutely extraordinary. You have to watch it. You have to watch it. And that's it. Well, I want to take a look at the equity markets over here, right, to see what they're doing. So I'm seeing so far the S&P 500 exactly where it was 45 minutes ago. I'm seeing the Nasdaq exactly where it was 45 minutes ago. I'm seeing the DXY exactly where it was 45 minutes ago. And I'm seeing gold and silver slightly off from where they were. I look at the 10-year and I see that it's exactly where it was, 45 minutes ago. And FX2, I looked at them this morning, not with you, myself. FX across, except for the weakness of the JPY, except for the weakness of the yen, which is continuing to be the theme that we've seen throughout 2021, is that continued yen weakness, right, is basically unchanged. A good session. And we stopped here at 1,000 likes. Good session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Jordan, could you please show the level you're looking to enter spot buy on Bitcoin? I already did. I talked about that on Monday with y'all, right? Monday I would have done it on Sunday. I didn't have the funds on the exchange to do it. Transferring them in on Monday, BlockFi, same day, and then purchasing, call it $39,000 and not trying to time it. I don't try any spot purchases like that. I didn't plan on buying any spot Bitcoin during this bull market. I was positioned in fully before the bull market, but this 53% drawdown, for me was an opportunity and a gift. It was unexpected. I didn't plan on it. That was without my plan. But my plan is to sell. I'm holding my spot. My stop loss is literally 0 unless we see, this what was it called? This nonsensical overlay of charts play out. And if I have the opportunity to sell my Bitcoin because the 4-year cycle is playing out, and I have the opportunity to accumulate back in, massively increasing my stack, because the name of the game is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, understanding the direction the financial markets are headed and going, as Biden on the horn today looking for a $6 trillion increased spending, which means debt. That mindful, calculated devaluation of the purchasing power of the dollar. That's their focus. Your elected leaders, that's what they're trying to do there for you, right? So I understand what's going on over here. The name of the game is to accumulate. Now, if this doesn't play out, and we know it could play out multiple ways, right? Base case, option A, right? Could it be option B, where we enter some type of Wyckoff accumulation phase? We have the schematic over here, and it's beautiful. Thank you for this work over here, John K. Thank you, Carlos, for contributing. And you could see what, well, we could still wind up, as I pointed out, and the special guest tomorrow has pointed out, we might not make a higher high until September. And that still absolutely confirms the 4-year cycle model and what we're looking at now. That's not the base case for either one of us, but it's a possibility you have to be aware of. This, we would know if that is the base case if we take out that lower low and we start seeing us entering this Y. And this would be our buy point, by the way, right? We would know how to play it. We would be looking for it, and to proceed accordingly if it becomes our base case. It's not the base case, but the whole point is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, right? So that the question was, by the way, at what level are you buying spot? I don't time the spot purchase, And by the way, over at this point, it's dollar cost averaging into spot, whenever possible, buying spot. I don't care the price, When we get to that particular phase in the upcoming cycle, we'll be focused in on that. When we're hold on, I wanted to show the cycle peak. I think the best way to do that is on the halving tracker. As we're in this area over here after the capitulation low, that's the focus CTM will have on making sure that everyone is able to at least be able to consult and consider, what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and why. Now when we're talking about leverage trading, I don't even know if the majority of the folk can handle it. I've seen your emotional reactions. I see that the risks you took, and I see that when I told you experts only, you didn't listen. Not only am I mentioning experts only, I'm yelling it for experts only, lightly leveraged, understand your liquidation, your risk per trade, your position sizing, and people entering just gambling. It's nothing but aggressive gambling. That's all they're doing. And then they get really salty, right? And, I'm not going to have it. That's for sure. I'm going to make sure I maintain because most of you here listening right now, obviously you get it because you're here each and every day. And there's no one that's here each and every day that doesn't get it. It's those that like have that like, oh, I just want it and I want it now, and that don't want to put in the time, that don't want to put in the work, that think that everything should be handed to them. You could tell who's who, and it's very clear who's going to make it and who's not. It is very clear. All right, everyone. I think we saw, and we accomplished what we needed to do. Thank you for spending the time with me. Thank you for the session. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play some honeymoon vocals over here and see if we can come back with anything else, or we'll just close it out together. All right, a couple of things over here. One important thing. This is not it, but could you trust BlockFi? No, it's a risk. Anytime you're keeping your Bitcoin with a third party and not holding the keys, it's an absolute risk. Know and understand your risk. If BlockFi went down, I would feel that. I personally would really feel that. It would not be good. It's a risk that I know that I'm taking. I understand the risk as well as possible. I do not understand, and there's no way for me to understand the risks that BlockFi is taking with the people that it does business with. They're not transparent about that. And it's a systematic risk. If BlockFi went down, Gemini is going down, and I have no idea how Binance does it either. And if Binance, BlockFi, and Gemini went down, that's why my stop loss is 0, because Bitcoin, there could be a period of time there where you're seeing price levels that were quite unexpected. Now I know what happens after that, and I know that it's good, but so that's why my stop loss is 0. They're a risk. So that, where you're holding it offline and you're holding your keys, Now, I personally am comfortable with that risk that I'm taking, understanding the risk. But could you trust BlockFi? Don't trust verify, and you can't verify because you have no idea what risk they're taking. Now you do know, even after seeing a 53% drawdown in hours, as Raul pointed out, BlockFi and no one else in the space was hurt. No bailouts needed from the Fed, no central banks having to inject liquidity or anything like that. They are, they're collateralizing their loans. When you borrow from them, you're putting up collateral, and if it goes too low, they're calling in that collateral right away to protect themselves. But no, you cannot trust them or anyone. You know, this is a good question over here. And then there was let me cover base first. This is a really good question as well. You know, would rising interest rates concern you and your thoughts on the cycle, or do you think it would be short-term noise for all the markets? There's no way that I foresee. Now, you know, it's the markets. Everyone experienced what markets can do in 2020. Now, 2008 crisis was one thing, 2000 and a lot slower. It's why this particular crisis, Warren Buffett wasn't ready to deploy all his cash, you know, because he didn't think the Fed was going to act so soon. It was a different type of crisis, but you saw oil trade negatively, you know, WTI trading negatively, forward month contract, you know. So could the Fed raise rates? Of course. Do I think that the Fed is going to raise rates? I don't think so at all, that in the next 5 months that the Fed is going to raise rates. Is the Fed going to talk about tapering, or is the Fed even just, the Fed is right now signaling through their verbal intervention that they're considering talking about and having the conversation about tapering. They're not talking about actually tapering, but they're talking about and letting the markets know that they're, now they're even considering the fact that eventually they have to have the conversation about tapering. I don't see the Fed raising rates over here. Now, might the market force the Fed to raise rates? That's a different thing. But no, this is not something that I foresee as being any type of issue throughout the duration of this bull market over here. And then we have another thing over here, Gino. It's a good way to end today. Curious to know what you learned from the surprise move down on Bitcoin. What did I learn from the surprise move? All right. Well, listen, I'm going to give you very broad strokes over here. There is a video I put out. I think I put it out on Monday, explaining the last 3 months, exactly how it was traded and the immense risk management that went into it. Outstanding, but here's what I learned. I thought, I'm watching out over here this whole period. Let me go to the daily chart. No, I'll stay on the daily chart. This whole period over here, I am like, watch out for a shakeout. No one else in the space is talking about it. When I say no one else out in the space, I mean no one on the interweb in Bitcoin or crypto talking about it. And I'm like, watch out for the shakeout, right? And then price comes over here, and I'm like, fully positioned and more. It looks like we're going up until we broke for me, it was 62,000. I told each and every one of you, and I used the exact words, if you lose 58,500 and you're still in, you are dead wrong. That you're dead wrong, I used. I said, it's late, but it's still good, And that's the thing. And when people talk about the misconceptions they talk about, I kind of let it go, but then it becomes poisonous. So now I don't really feel like doing that anymore, but that's another thing. So, and then all of a sudden, this happens, this is where we excel though. When this drawdown happens, this is really where we excel. And we have that precision. This is strategy number 2, right? How to trade the Bitcoin bull market. It used to be, your 15, 20% drawdown, start scaling in, 25, 30% scaling more. And then it became with that precision of me drawing in the line of repair and waiting for the break. On this particular instance, if you were not in as price made the high at 50,500 on the break of the trend line, and the daily making the first daily close in 11 or 13 days, that was the entry. And it was clear to everyone because I told them ahead of time. Me personally, as price started shooting up here, very quickly, and then I saw, by 49,500, I was positioned in. I talked about Jesse Livermore. I talked about reading the tape and why, but big deal. What's $1,000 on Bitcoin over here? Like, you were positioned in by over here. Right? And then as soon as price came off over here, I drew in that next line of repair, and then that was the next entry, and boom, fully positioned in. And I thought this was then the shakeout. Not only did I think it was the shakeout, I said, this is, we're going to see a V shape. It's going to be quick. is going to be sharp. And this is the beginning of the parabolic move. When I say the beginning of the parabolic move, what I'm talking about is this move, the bottom to here, the bottom to here, the beginning of the parabolic move, right? And then what unfolded, was that price came back down over here. Elon tweeted right here, right? And this was no longer a V, right? Price came back down over here. And I said, someone just did a cannonball into the lake and kicked up all the mud, and everything is kind of uncertain. The next session on Friday the 14th, I said, I don't know what's going on because this was not a V. I'm getting out neutral, right? That's not my core position. My stop loss is 0. I'm talking about any type of trading, any type of leverage. I don't know what's going on. It's the first time I've ever told you that. I'm getting neutral. Now, many people thought they knew better. That's fine. Well, you did get burnt. Many people thought they knew better. I didn't. I didn't know what was going on. And I'm so comfortable saying that I don't know what's going on. And I spent that whole session explaining my unclarity. And there was such clarity in me explaining why everything was unclear to me, right? And so I got neutral. I didn't expect this to happen. I wasn't looking for this to happen. But as far as what I learned, I didn't learn anything. It was masterfully done. And that's that. I didn't learn anything. It was when you don't know what's going on, you get out of the market. I'm not trying to call a 53% correction, nor will I ever. That's not what's going on over there. Now, did we learn a lot as far as this precision that Ian is able to put out here, as far as lining these things up and how 35 days they line up and seeing the symmetry? That's what I learned. And I learned it from Ian and I learned it from Ted. And that's why it's an honor to work shoulder to shoulder with them. And when I say them, it's all of you who are CTM to the core. It's an honor. It's why I started this channel in the first place. Heath remembers when it was only me, Heath, and 20 other people, 30 other people for months each and every day. And I said, listen, the more that I could share what I've learned in 20 years with all of you, and the more that we could lift up your game, then it's become this positive feedback loop where you're helping me and we're helping each other, and we continue to be steel sharpen steel. Giles, Giles, lots of love. And then here's where we are. So what I learned is what happens mid-cycle. One of the main takeaways for me, by the way, is mid-cycle, right? Not just watch out for the shakeout, which it was for me this time. It was just be aware there could be a shakeout. What it should have been is, you're 3x off the previous all-time high. You should actually be taking some profits here. Because in the past cycles, that's where we kind of topped out over here. Yes, then you should also, the precision that we will have if we're here 4 years from now, forget it. Everyone who's watching understands that precision. Forget about it. It's mission control, continuing to work together to sharpen the game and get it going. I'm trying to look for the heaven tracking over here. I'm going to end it right here. This is who we are. This is where we are. And this is all of us working together. And this is why we're able to get to the moon. All right, everyone. Thank you for the session. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you this morning for really just spreading that positivity, for spreading that kindness, and for spreading that love. I wish you all a beautiful day, and I thank you all for your prayers, your thoughts and your prayers for my wife and the child. Thank you so much, praying for a healthy baby, for a healthy delivery. I'll keep you all in the loop, that's for sure. All right, everyone, moderators, server specialists, everyone in CTM, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. May God bless you.